Good morning. If you are with us Sunday morning on Facebook Live or any of our other streaming platforms, welcome. And if you are watching a recording of this service at any time or day, greetings. Welcome to Unitarian Universalist of Transylvania County. My name is Victoria Carr. I am a member of UUTC and serve on the Membership Welcoming Committee. I have a few announcements to make this morning. Our outdoor safe distancing Tuesday picnic continues. Fellowship on the Green is for anyone who wishes to come around with a mask and a packed lunch to sit and chat with others around the circle of chairs and picnic tables between 11:30 and 1:30 p.m. Virginia McDonald will be hosting a bookmark making workshop. She has every Disney character, wild and farm animals, flowers, Halloween, and Christmas. Please contact Virginia to let her know if you are interested, and she will then announce a date that works for most. The dates to present the 2021-2022 budget to the congregation will be Thursday, May 6th at 7 p.m. and Saturday, May 8th at 4 p.m. They will both be held via Zoom. Thank you for joining us in this sacred place during these troubled times, from the safety of your homes in a community consecrated by our presence and our commitment. We are a welcoming and inclusive congregation. We invite your participation and welcome you, whoever you are, without regard to your race, color, age, sex, gender orientation, politics, or abilities. We require no creed or particular religious belief, asking only that you bring your goodwill and an open heart. Our mission is to support individual spiritual journeys and to promote social, economic, and environmental justice. To any guest or newcomers we have watching with us today, thank you for taking the chance and taking the time to find us online and join us in worship. And to our members and friends, please use the chat to commune with each other, to reconnect as a UUTC family, and to express your appreciation. Our call to worship is Gather the Spirit, performed by the First Unitarian Church Choir in Oakland, California. Please relax and let the music lead you into the spirit of this worship service.
Same.
Our opening words are by Tim Haley. Amid all the noise in our lives, we take this moment to sit in silence, to give thanks for another day, to give thanks for all those who give us warmth and love, to give thanks for the gift of life. We know that we are on our pilgrimage here but a brief moment in time. Let us open ourselves here, now, to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on this earth. We will now light our chalice, and then I will read the words of Reverend Florence Caplow, a minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. Besides being a minister, she is also a writer, editor, and ordained Soto Zen priest. We kindle this flame, honoring the doorways in our souls, the windows through which we gaze at one another, the balconies where we catch glimpses of sky, the thresholds we stand on this morning, wondering, hoping, fearing, dreaming. Please join us in our first hymn of the morning, hymn number 40, Morning Hang a Signal. The words will be on your screen. Now comes the time in our service when we have the chance to share our joys and sorrows. We believe that joys are magnified, worries reduced, and grief eased by sharing them with our beloved community. I invite those who are watching this on Sunday morning to participate by typing any joys and sorrows you would like to share in the comments of the streaming platform you are using. I won't see them, but will include a candle for them at the end. I light a candle for those whose work allows us to live our lives easier and safer. Those on the front lines who have been asked again and again to be heroes in healthcare, essential services, and education. May this light bring comfort to those who serve. I light a candle of gratitude for those who continue to research and administer vaccines. I light a candle of gratitude for those who continue to research and administer vaccines. Their efforts and commitment bring new hope, a gift we have been offered after the past year of fear. May this light bring honor to those who serve the new fight against COVID-19. I light a candle of gratitude for those who have committed themselves to attend and stand on the side of justice, speaking out and taking action, and advocating for those who have been denied their rights. May this light bring courage to those who speak up. I light a candle for those prayers lifted up in the chat box by those at home. We hold them in our hearts. This light is burning here at UUTC for all these things, even as we cannot be with each other. And finally, I light a candle This is hard. Finally, I light a candle for any care or any hope that you are not yet ready to share. May this light, kindled by all our hearts, be a torch you can carry forward, knowing that we hold you in our hearts. Let us hold these lights and prayers in our hearts as we listen to the music by our UUTC singers, I Brought My Spirit to the Sea.
Spirit to the sea, I stood upon the shore. I gazed upon infinity, I heard the waters roar, and then there came a sense of peace, some whispered calmed my soul. Some ancient ministry of stars had made my spirit whole. I brought my spirit to the trees that loomed against the sky. I touched each wandering, careless breeze to know if God was nigh. And then I felt an inner flame that fiercely burned my tears. Upright I rose from bended knee to meet the asking years.
I invite you into this moment of prayer and silent meditation. Spirit of love and life, each of us gathered in our spaces come to this moment with the realization of how fragile life has been in this past year. We reach out to one another with the love and support, knowing that nothing is the same. Everything is new. It's said that the hardest thing in life is not so much change, but the adaptation to it. Spirit of love and life, may we remember to keep at the forefront of how we do this adaptation with the best of our principles ahead of us to guide us, with the inherent worth and dignity of every person, ourselves and those around us, with the encouragement to spiritual growth. We are a part of both the pain and the solution, the joy and the anticipation. Spirit of love and life, let us hold now in the silence those balancing acts and the prayers of our hearts and meditations of our minds we hold now in this brief moment of silence. In the names of all those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind, we say, blessed be, Amen. The brief reading I've picked this morning is out of one of the Unitarian Universalist Association's Skinner House books. If you're ever looking for a meditation manual, or books of readings that might help inspire you, look up Skinner House books and see if there's anything there that might tempt you. This one is called Awakening the Soul, a book of daily devotions, edited by my late colleague, the Reverend John Morgan, who had been a nearby colleague in Pennsylvania through the years. As you can see, it is bookmarked and well used. Every human being faces obstacles, adversity, difficult situations. Learning how to live is learning how to accept what cannot be changed, but it is also learning to change what must be changed. Times of adversity often teach us about strengths that we did not know we had. When life seems easy, we're not called to draw upon the inner resources that we require during the hard times. And when we find these resources, we grow. We learn our capabilities. Our fear of the unknown diminishes. We develop trust in a force larger than ourselves that sometimes carries us into unknown territory and sees us safely through to the other side. It is often only in retrospect that we see struggle as the soul's salvation. This morning's sermon is another on this month's theme of becoming. And we will have a hybrid discussion live and on Zoom with those who are signed up in the group to discuss the topics, the ways in which we come to understanding how we are a people of becoming. This one's more specifically about becoming as a life goal. And it follows a bit of what I said earlier in the month, but from a different approach, as you might guess from the reading that I brought to you this morning. For me, the idea of becoming is something that through the years I have learned I have struggled. I have sometimes just easily drifted through times of life in which I find my way into new understandings of self or humanity or the workings of the world or the ways in which my old beliefs might have been scrambled. One of the questions in this month's packet asks, are you living in spite of your losses or to avenge them? Oh, that's a pretty deep question, one that I pondered a bit. But it points both ways to something very important, in that the way in which we have losses, our griefs, our pathways now cut off from us because of something that we no longer have, as our health, a resource, or the support team that we used to have, that our losses end up being something that points our life in a new way, if we're aware enough. It's interesting to me. I'm singing a song as a part of a chorus that I'm in. You may remember hearing this. It's from now 40, 50 years ago, The Impossible Dream. The idea that somebody may have a deep-seated need to try to right wrongs and just keep going at it. The old idea of tilting at windmills. But that's not the only way in which we find ourselves with deep meaning and purpose. It is, as the question asks, something to do with our losses. When in our lives we end up with the bruises, the cuts, the reduced shoulder motion, or even more, the deeply carved heart, once so filled with the love of one another, and now the loss of not having that person. When we confront the fact that change has happened and acknowledge that a part of our becoming is to draw upon resources we've never had to draw upon before, external and internal, to make ourselves pilots into adaptation. We're certainly there as a society, as a congregation. Little by little, we find our ways of the way things used to be so different. And I have mentioned out loud that when past pandemics or epidemics have threatened our society, changed the way things were assumed to work in the way we do things, we adjust our behaviors. I wonder in part that the polio epidemic, up until the time of the first live vaccine, wonder if that was a motivation in some way towards people getting their own swimming pools. From having always had the town pond or lake or a recreational center with an outdoor pool, such as a civic center or YMCA, that it changed, in part because we still wanted to swim, but we didn't want to show up on the beaches together. We were afraid of what we might catch while out in the sun and the breezes. Generations far before that, my grandmother's generation, as young people saw, well, their friends, their classmates, their co-workers in their prime, young and strong, being wiped out by what was called the Spanish flu. In the years that followed, as World War I came to a close, as the Spanish flu became less of a large epidemic, society shifted. The people most affected by the trauma, by the losses, by the fear of will it be me next, dove into the next era with an exuberance not seen before. That was the Roaring '20s. A collective trauma in our nation and the world, and then going into an overcompensation the other way. And so I wonder, what about our adaptations coming out of COVID-19? In what ways will those whose generation lost the most, our elders who are now vaccinated, will we have a roaring '20s? Will we have an individual solution of the equivalent of everyone getting their own swimming pools? What will we do as we are becoming who we are out of the change, our adaptations? Thich Nhat Hanh said this, and I've quoted Thich Nhat Hanh before. Changing is not just changing the things outside of us. First of all, we need the right view that transcends all notions, including of being and non-being, creator and universe, mind and spirit. That kind of insight is crucial for transformation and healing. Part of what I love about Thich Nhat Hanh is I have to think and rethink what's there. It's wait a minute, we need the right view, transcending being and non-being, all these dualities. That kind of insight is crucial for our transformation and healing. We are survivors. We are recovering from illness. We are ebullient in our ability to say, I got my shots. We are still cautioned in listening to the ways in which nothing is ever perfect to bring us back to where we were in even late 2019. We, in transcending our sense of being and non-being, is to understand that to look around without the blinders on, without the assumptions of old, to try for insight, maybe journaling, to figure out, who am I now? For those of you who took down notes in a diary, you may know this already by going back to a diary from decades ago and looking at it and realizing, wow, that takes me back. And realizing you have become something more, something different. That younger you is still a part of you, but in many ways, the notes that you took down while helping you grow and have perceptions of yourself aren't with the new perceptions that you've been able to bring. We are a people of becoming, in that we do encourage each other to look to spiritual growth, to support one another on our spiritual journeys. We are in one of those contexts, maybe quite different from any factory work you have done, any mind-numbing tasks again and again in the services you do for others. We are the opposite, not to numb our minds, but to inspire them, to try to get at it from different directions, our hymns, our music, getting deep into our hearts, stimulating our brains in different ways than all the words, although they may be poetry, we get to where we're going by having different people around us. And I've spoken of that before, but it's good to remind us diversity is good. Having people around who are different from us is a challenge. And isn't that how we learn our inside strengths, or the before implicit but now has to be implicit line that's crossed? Something that helps us define, this is where I am, and that's different from where you are. We become while being good neighbors. Good neighbors have good fences. While we give each other hugs, or will again, we know as we become better where we end and something outside of us begins. Our society right now is dealing with a challenge which is in our news quite a bit. The efforts of those in our society to work under the assumptions of old that may have been trained unconsciously, but to support old systems based on skin color, where there's a disparity in healthcare, in vaccinations, where there's a disparity in the ways in which someone may be given the benefit of a doubt. When I look back over the years and see where we've been with this challenge over the years, I look at what Cornel West spoke of, looking back a generation before to Martin Luther King Jr. Cornel West said, King's response to our crisis can be put in one word: revolution. A revolution in our priorities, a reevaluation of our values, a reinvigoration of our public life, and a fundamental transformation of our way of thinking and living that promotes a transfer of power from oligarchs and plutocrats to everyday people and ordinary citizens. Now, Cornel West is truly interpreting the Martin Luther King all the way up to his death in Memphis on that April in 1968. The messages that were shifting, not just the civil rights, but also the issues of class and disparities between rich and poor. We forget how revolutionary that was. To our own peril, we forget how the transformation of society comes all wrapped up in our being able to know ourselves in the context of a true world around us, not our previous thinking, this is the way we were trained, this is the way it's done. Our elders have mentored us in our vocabulary, in our ways of interacting. That no longer works. Our becoming is both internal in our own self-valuation, whether it was overly inflated before, misguided perhaps by prejudices, by racism, by the structural systems that reinforce ways of thinking that diminish our full sense of self while maybe inflating it as well. To get to a point of understanding, wait, but for the grace of God, there go I. That could have been me in that dreadful situation. We know that now during our pandemic. To realize that we must still speak up. We must still say, stop the incidences in which new laws are being written to reduce the ways in which we can have an adaptation to a new future rather than trying to hold on to the way things used to be. Or somehow comfort us that the world really isn't changing and we'll have a law that says nothing's changed. Marianne Williamson reinforced the idea by saying this: personal transformation can and does have global effects. As we go, so goes the world. For the world is us. The revolution that will save the world is ultimately a personal one. And I say that without wanting to say, hey, stop lobbying for the laws, stop showing up on Mondays, the moral Mondays, or just stop being out there engaged. That's not what Marianne Williamson was saying. That's not what I'm preaching here. But it is true, the personal transformation does have global effects. The more each one of us is more calmly adapted to what the future could offer us, all, much less reactive, knee-jerk, reactive, we are transformed in a way that helps the others around us have a better chance of transformation. We are transformed enough to hear the disenfranchised voices rather than closing our ears and saying, no, it's all the same, no. The more we are transformed into our new selves, to journal a new page, to state something that we might not have realized before, the better we are in populating this new world, new and fresh. May Sarton, in an excerpt from her poems, says this: now I become myself. It's taken time, many years and places. I've been dissolved and shaken, worn other people's faces, run madly as if time were there, terribly old, crying a warning, hurry, you shall be dead before. What? Before you reach the morning? Or the end of the poem is clear? Or love safe in the walled city? Now, to stand still, to be here, feel my own weight and density. This is something of getting to the point of wisdom and sages, to know your own weight and density, to remember the various scars you've picked up, physical or otherwise, on your path, to come to the point of realizing we are becoming, and we are becoming something out of the traumas that individually and collectively we have been through. We are becoming, we hope, something of a new being for a new world, adjusted to the new realities, and being perhaps a bit more cautious if we were overbold, a bit more bold if we had been oblivious to the ways we were held back, a bit more loving in understanding the ways in which that gives all of us strength and helps us with our losses. May we be becoming, may we be becoming together. For the world needs our inner transformation, for the outer transformation of all to occur. Thank you. This is the time in which we remind each other that it is not possible for things to happen without generosity, without some sacrifice of our treasure and our time and our talent. Thank you all for being connected and being a part of this place, and for being generous in your pledges. And if you have some more to give, remember our congregation will always accept electronic gifts or through the mail. And remember, this month's monthly charitable giving is going to the Children's Center. If you look and see a way to give specifically for this month's giving, this is the final week for those collections. Thank you. What you give in love, we receive with great joy, and we do say, thank you. So, in the spirit of the message of becoming, I ask you to please join with me now in singing our closing hymn, number 108, My Life Flows On. And this will be presented by Willow and accompanied by John Austin. The words will be on your screen. As we extinguish this chalice, let us remember to bring the light with us wherever we may go. In the words of Frank Clark, may we find comfort among those who agree with us and growth among those who don't. Growth for us and growth for this world. And as we extinguish the helper candle, may you go forth, finding the help you need in becoming through whatever traumas, collectively or individually, are foremost on your mind and ready for some type of adaptation. And may we be helpers to others. In our mission as Unitarian Universalists, let us remember that all around us may be the helper we need, and we might be for them. Blessed be. As you go forth, may you come back next week into this place of love and this community.